Assalamu alaikum. My name Shahbaz Ali and welcome to my channel. In today's videos, I am going to explain identification of different kinds of fertilizers. This is the topic of my subject plant nutrition and my teacher name Professor Dr. Rashid Sahab. First of all, I would like to introduce different kinds of fertilizer and what is fertilizer. Fertilizer is any chemical that is organic or inorganic that given to the soil that increase or provide nutrients to the plants but not available in the soil. Indirectly, we can say that fertilizer increase the nutrients availability in the plant and increase the growth of plant. This is the definition of fertilizers in easy words. Now I am going to explain types of fertilizer. There are two types of fertilizers: complete fertilizer or incomplete fertilizers. Complete fertilizers are those that have all three basic primary nutrients: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. At number two, incomplete fertilizers are those that do not have primary nutrients. All the primary nutrients are not completely or partially available in these fertilizers. These are incomplete fertilizers. These are two types of fertilizers: complete fertilizer and number two, incomplete fertilizers. For further detail, there are different forms of fertilizers such as granular fertilizers, powdered fertilizers, and liquid fertilizers. These are another three types of fertilizers. What are granular fertilizers? Granular fertilizers are those that present in the form of small grains or holes. Example, grain of wheat may be fertilizer present in the form of minute or small grains. And number two, powdered. What is powdered fertilizers? Powdered is form of fertilizer that is completely grained form. Potassium fertilizers mostly in the form of fertilizer present in the form of powdered form. Number three, water liquid fertilizers. Liquid fertilizers are those which require very less amount. These are applied at very specific level. They may be present, may be required at large amount and can be sprayed through drones with modern technology at large field on many number of hectares. This is liquid fertilizers. The basic primary three nutrients that are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Today I am discussing about urea fertilizer. What is urea? Urea fertilizer mostly required in the soil where water logged in conditions. Urea fertilizer are really soluble in the soil and they do not cause the leaching process. Urea fertilizer which have 46% nitrogen in the 100 kg of the sampling bag. Then we will say sodium nitrate. This include also nitrogen and contain 16% of the nitrogen. Then comes the potassium nitrate. They contain 13.85% nitrogen. Mostly of the nitrogen are in which, for example, of urea fertilizers, they are in the form of small grains or small holes that is white in color and very small minute forms. It is urea fertilizer. Urea fertilizer is highly soluble and highly volatile in nature. We require large amount of water. So urea fertilizer dissolved in the soil and plant uptake this easily. Next, number two, phosphate fertilizer. Phosphate fertilizer are mostly used or strongly acidic and organic soil. The main example of phosphatic fertilizer is DAP, diammonium phosphate, SSP, and MAP, SSP, single superphosphate. There is 46% of the phosphorus that is present in the 100 kg of the bag. SSP, single superphosphate, 16 to 20% of the phosphorus elements present may be 48% phosphorus. If we have the same of DAP, then it is mostly dark gray or brown, also present in granular form. Now we take the example of single superphosphate. Single superphosphate, its color is silver gray. It also present in green form. Now we take example of MAP. It is present in the form of colored. Its color is silver gray. And the very next, potassium fertilizer. Potassium fertilizers required for heavily or acidic soil. Acidic soil which have very less pH of the soil, and potassium balance it and pH normal or optimal level. First of all, we take the example of potassium nitrate. It is about 44% of the potassium in 100 kg of the bag, mostly in grain form. Mostly in grain form. What is grain form? Grain form is that which is powdered form. Next example of potassium fertilizer is potassium sulfate, that is K2SO4. The basic percentage of potassium in this fertilizer is about 48 to 50%. This is water soluble and it is the powdered form and white in color. For the different fertilizer like iron fertilizer, two types of iron. Now explain two types of iron: ferrous oxide and ferric oxide. Ferrous oxide, it have 77% iron in the 100 kg of bag of ferrous. Ferrous oxide color is black. Ferrous oxide is brown iron. And number two, we explain ferric oxide. Ferric oxide is brown in color, 69% powder form, dark green color. These were inorganic fertilizer. We can identify by their bags. How we explain by their bags? By their bags, their formulas written on the bag, such as we buy urea fertilizer bag. On urea fertilizer bag, their formula written on the bag and their percentage of nitrogen and other minerals written on the bag. By this, we identify it. Organic. Now, at last, we explain organic fertilizers. Organic fertilizer mostly obtained with the animal waste or animal dung. This is very precisely or carefully applied because these are applied on very large scale. Apply organic fertilizer on a certain period of time where certain period is very important for organic fertilizer because for the composition of organic fertilizer a specific time is required. If this time is not required to organic fertilizer is not composed and plant do not uptake nutrients from the soil and from these organic fertilizers. So a specific period of time is required for the composition of organic fertilizer. It is not composed, plant do not uptake this. It is very important. Organic fertilizers are very important for plant growth, for highly productions. Organic fertilizer is much important. Today, this is my discussion on identification of fertilizers. Different methods of identification of fertilizers are required. Thank you so much. I hope you can understand a lot identification of fertilizers.